I want to really focus on this thought piece. Do you believe that thoughts become things? Can your thoughts make you sick? And if your thoughts can make you sick, can your thoughts make you well? How do you conceptualize your inner dialogues?
Yes. Your thoughts can make you sick. Your thoughts can also make you well. Neville Goddard is a spiritual teacher. He was born in Barbados, and he spent his career in the States. He became mostly well known in the 1960s. He wrote the book, The Law and the Promise. And he essentially encourages manifestation and law of attraction techniques through what he calls the law of assumption. So whatever you assume to be true about your life, the world, is true. He also teaches this really powerful term, which is the mental diet, where you really need to edit your thoughts. You need to consciously put a positive filter on your thoughts. He does add, of course, you want to process the thought. You don't want to spiritually bypass anything. But as often as you can, add a positive filter on everything that's occurring in your life. Your body is always listening. That's something I'll add to it, and that's subconscious mind work. Your body is always listening. Dr. Wayne Dyer was a student of Neville Goddard, and another practice that Goddard always speaks about is I am statements or creative imagination or visualization. So when you want something, just start imagining it. Just visualize it. And if you are going to use I am followed by anything, just make sure it's immensely positive, uplifting, kind. Because when you say I am in something negative, you're talking shit about yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're going to call that in. So be conscious with your words, be conscious with your thoughts. I don't even let my friends or my loved ones talk poorly about themselves to me, and hold that for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. I had here in my notes, why I am are the two most powerful words in the English language. Yeah. And I think you're spot on. You know, they can feel really definitive. It is a literal, we're stating it as a truth. And if we believe it to be true, we'll go looking for all the evidence to prove that it's true. And then it will become true. And all of a sudden we're like, great, I'm right. I'm a failure. Awesome. That doesn't feel very good. What are we going to do to change it? So I think we need to change the inner dialogues. And if we do, we can change the outer realities. But you said another word that's a bit of a buzzword and a bit of a trigger word for some people. They just get turned off by the M word, called manifesting. So I would love to hear your take on what people get wrong about manifesting.
People need to find educators that resonate with them. Like if manifesting doesn't resonate, if the word doesn't resonate, then, get over it. Like if it doesn't resonate with you, then don't buy into it. However, power of thought, law of attraction, it works. We know this to be true. If you wake up in the morning and you have a negative thought, or you hop on social media, or you see the news and the atrocities that are occurring everywhere, and you have that negative energy, and then you spiral, you stay within that energy, or you could calibrate. You could insert a positive thought versus a negative. You could have a spiritual practice. You could shower and cleanse. You could practice Kriya and cleanse. Any of these practices, and they are absolutely life-altering. So here's the thing. If manifestation doesn't resonate, it's probably somebody that is more logically connected. They want the science behind it. And as somebody with a psychology background, as somebody that was a researcher for Columbia University, we can't always put science and logic behind feeling states or miracles. And when you are constantly demanding research, constantly demanding science to quantify a miracle, you're getting in the way of God. You're getting in the way of the most divine, highest possible timeline that could be occurring for you. So call it whatever you want. If people get hung up on specific words, then change the verbiage. However, anybody can tap into and calibrate to their highest possible timeline through the power of thought. At the core, manifestation helps with clarity. So many people don't even know what they want with their life. So many people don't even take time to ask themselves if they're nourished, or if they're happy, or if they're content with their job, their partnership, their home, their day-to-day life. And there's a lot to be said for a mental pause, for pausing and reflecting. And then I'll just add a little tangent there. Silence is a big one too. So for any form of clarity, for any form of connection to self, it does require something In Judaism, we call it cheshbon hanefesh, which is a counting of the soul, which is a deep inner check into self. And it means facing thyself. It means sitting with who you are, and people are not content with that. They rather have the 5 p.m. glass of wine, scroll on social media, hop on Netflix, sex, fill the void with something. Or you can face yourself, probably heal, get clear, and then you're pursuing a more authentic, aligned path.
Mm-hmm. The analogy that always comes to my mind is if you had a glass of water with a bunch of mud in it and you stir it around with a spoon and you keep stirring the spoon and you expect the water to settle and get clear, you're never going to be able to see, and then you're never going to be able to have the clarity. So what comes with the silence is often the stillness. You've got to let the water settle, and when it does, that will fall to the bottom and you'll be able to see a little bit clear. But we're not very comfortable with silence. We're this busy, go, do world. I think a lot of people have been disconnected from the human being, the human doing. They sing the do song instead of the do-be-do song. So it's...
That was a good one.
Yeah, I like that one, right? The thing I think, you were saying, like, people love a study, or they want the science. Show me that manifesting works. And I think, the evidence is your life. Look at the results of your life. If you're not living the life you want... And in some sense, you have to be delusional about life. You have to be delusional enough to believe in a future. You can choose to be delusional to the sense that all of this woo stuff is nonsense and it doesn't work. Or you can choose to believe in it and try it and see. Because I was delusional at one point, and then I tried it and believed it and seen it. And now I actually believe it as a gnosis, as a knowing. And it does work. And I think the misconception, probably more in particular from men, is just they think that manifestation is just a bunch of women in the mirror saying, like, I am powerful, I am brave, I am strong. And they're like, well, you got to work for that. And I think they have a hard time, like, squaring the circle of, like, what we're creating and visioning for ourselves and then matching it with the actions that we take in the world. And what's your relationship like, and what's the relationship with your clients like to something like hard work, to discipline, to, like, also getting after it in life, not just getting after it up here?
Feeling states. So you can look in the mirror and say, I am loved. I am brave, but what does that feel like? So give me a very specific example. So I am loved. I am in a committed, loving, beautiful, life-altering relationship. What does that feel like? It feels like coming home. It feels like being in my bedroom and hearing my dad playing the record downstairs and knowing that my mom has a beautiful Saturday morning brunch laid out on the table. There isn't a specific word for that. It's a feeling state. And so often our English language really fails us, which is why it's always really good to know multiple languages. Feeling states never lie. So when it comes to manifestation and people are calling in whatever they want, it doesn't work when somebody says, and I'll a specific example, if someone's like, I want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur, that doesn't matter. That's not connected to a feeling. So if you get the thing, like let's say you become a 7-figure entrepreneur, but it doesn't feel like what you thought the success would feel like, then it's out of alignment. So it always comes back into feeling, wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel secure. What's a metaphor for that? Wanting to be surrounded by other people, other women that can see you deeply and hold you deeply. What is the feeling state paired with that? And sometimes it's a color, sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's a texture. So the way that I teach manifestation, I teach a very specific practice called snapshot manifestation. And it's envisioning a very specific event that's going to occur 6 months to a year and a half from now. And in that event, at that event, you have everything you most desire, but you're honing in on the feeling state. And then once you are clear on that feeling state, you connect to that feeling state every single day. Like you have a daily practice of connecting to that feeling state. You can habit stack, which is James Clear's practice of taking one habit and stacking on top another one. So if you have a cup of coffee every single morning, take that moment to connect to your snapshot manifestation, the feeling paired with it. And then when you go out into the world, you can see what matches that feeling state. It's going to help with clarity and it's going to help with alignment. Feeling states never lie.
Yeah, this feeling thing is really interesting. I'm sure you're familiar with Joe Dispenza. His saying recently is that thoughts are the language of the mind and feelings are the language of the body. And what's really cool about that is if you can sit with it for a second, you can quickly see as well the positive or negative feedback loops. Like if my thoughts are negative and my brain and nervous system then become a pharmacy of negative chemicals, and that creates feelings, and those feelings are negative. And now the negative feelings enforce the negative thoughts, like I'm spiraling, like, oh shit. But you can hijack it positively by focusing on the positive feeling, like really feeling into that. That creates better thoughts. Those thoughts create better feelings. All of a sudden, life's not so bad. And everybody has the power to do that, right? I think a lot of people almost feel as though, you know, their personality or the disposition is just inherently negative. And that could be for so many things, their past, their history, their traumas, whatnot. But you have to hold this belief that all people can change, right? All people are... No one's beyond saving. And usually it probably starts with what's going on between the ears and then what's going on in here.
Oh, your traumas make you interesting. It's like people who have not gone through hard obstacles in their life. It's like white bread. The hard things give you color, give you flair, give you something to talk about. So I think so often we look at our past with regret or just so unhappy that maybe the obstacle even occurred. However, it prepares you for your life. It prepares you for the next thing. And every single time like a super negative obstacle occurs, you have really only two options. You can heal or you can let it really rock you.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting as well because speaking to a lot of really interesting people, they've usually gone through something quite transformative, often difficult, and you'll hear them describe the story sometimes, like the intense heartbreak, the suffering, and there's always this, they would never change that. They are actually thankful that they had to go through that because it really taught them who they were. You know, you don't learn much about yourself when life is sunshine, rainbows, and fighting pixie dust, right? You learn what you're about when your back's against the ropes, when you've really got to dig in and find something deeper. So I think, you know, there's a cool reframe there. Your traumas make you interesting, that they give you a story. Every human has a story, like every single person. Mm-hmm. You think that there's only cool story peoples or these people on podcasts or whatever. Every person you meet has a story. And those stories can change. And it's important to change. And it starts with, if those stories aren't hopeful, it's important to change them. And it starts with changing thoughts. So brass taxes, tactically, how do people change their thoughts? Because most people, I don't even think they've thought about changing their thoughts. What would you say to someone there?
You have a negative thought. So let's say, for example, somebody wants to be in a loving relationship. Somebody wants to call in their highest possible romantic partner. They have the negative thought, I'm not worthy, right? They have the negative thought, other people can have this life-altering love. I can't have this life-altering love. The first thing would be to feel it. Like allow yourself to really process that. The second thing would be, where did you learn this? And maybe you learned it from a recent heartbreak. Maybe you learned it from the lack of love you received from a parent or a caregiver. That likely occurred before the age of 7, because a lot of this programming of the subconscious mind occurs before the age of 7. It's very Jungian. And then if that is the negative thought, the work is inserting positive. So statistically, they say 33 positive thoughts for one negative. And if you are a logical person, so let's say this is somebody that likes the science, look for the evidence. Look for evidence in your life where you have been quote unquote worthy.